All right, well, while we're waiting for our third panelist to join us, I thought maybe I could just start by introducing our first two panelists and just welcome you all to our Women Veterans Empowerment Dialogues Moms Who Serve panel. Today, we are going to be speaking to three awesome veterans about their experiencing balancing the identities of being a veteran and motherhood, which is really exciting. So first up, we have Cassie Elder. Cassie Elder served for 4 years in the Marine Corps as a combat engineer from 2006 to 2010. She deployed twice to Iraq, and she spent time on Team Lioness, which was a female engagement team. It was during this time that she was able to interact with many Iraqi locals, and when she first decided she wanted to focus on social justice. Cassie graduated with a BA in English from the University of Michigan in 2013 and is set to graduate with a Master of Social Work, also from the University of Michigan, this month. Go Cassie. Cassie is passionate about social justice and veteran advocacy and has worked with many nonprofit organizations, including the Mission Continues, Focus Hope, and our favorite nonprofit, Warrior Scholar Project. She helped organize and execute the Warrior Scholar Project pilot program at the University of Michigan in 2014 and worked there alongside our CEO, Ryan, until 2019. She currently works with us as an outreach assistant. We're so happy to bring her back on board. Cassie lives in Chelsea, Michigan, and she has 2 children and 4 cats. Also a dog now, right, Cassie? And a dog. All right, and Kim, yay, you're here. We're so excited you got in. All right, so Kim Hellwig is originally from Brooklyn, New York. She's a mother of 4 adult children, which is an achievement all in itself, you know, raising 4 adult children. Congrats on that, Kim. But she's also an Army veteran. She attended WSP in 2019 at Amherst College, which is where I had the great fortune of meeting her and interacting with her. And she also encouraged her son, Kobe, to attend our 2020 Williams College program last year, for which we are so thankful. So now WSP is a family affair for Kim's family. Kim is a junior undergrad at Columbia, where she's majoring in psychology. Her career goal is to work in the field of social emotional learning, and she desires to enrich the lives of disadvantaged children here in the United States and also abroad in Sierra Leone, Africa, which is very exciting. So welcome, Kim. And then finally, we have Kasie Valenti. Kasie served on active duty in the United States Army for 8 years as a logistics officer and deployed once to Afghanistan. During her time in the Army, she had the privilege of holding various leadership positions such as platoon leader, executive officer, female engagement team leader, company commander, and a command speechwriter. She is now an Army veteran, mom of 3. Again, you all are just, you know, killing it with this like motherhood thing. Military spouse, and she's the director of communications at Service to School, which is one of WSP's favorite nonprofit organizations, other than WSP, of course. In her free time, she is a very passionate advocate for women's health. And by this, you know, if you need to know any complicated yoga poses, check out her Instagram, The Veteran Mom, because she is going to town with those crazy poses. She hopes to inspire and validate women to take care of their physical, mental, and spiritual needs. So welcome to our 3 panelists. We're so excited to have you here. We are gonna get started by asking each of you to tell us a story about a situation that illustrates your experience as a veteran mom. So let's start in reverse order. Let's start with Kasie. Kasie, can you tell us a story that illustrates your experience as a veteran mom?
Sure. Thanks, Whitney, for having me today. I'm so excited to share motherhood, how it relates to military. I don't think I've ever talked to anyone about that. So I'm just happy that the first time I'm doing it, it's in a group, and this is just amazing. So thank you for having me. I was tempted to share the story kind of behind the picture in the flyer, the deployment story, but I think it's really interesting to share the first time I realized my life was changing. So my oldest is 10 years old. I have 3 altogether. My oldest is 10, and she's the one I had while I was on active duty. So 10 years ago, things looked a little bit different than they do now. Now there's pregnancy PT, postpartum PT, there's longer maternity leave, but back in my day, these things weren't really mandatory or set in place. So it looked a little bit different. So after I had my daughter, I got called off of maternity leave early. I was attached to an infantry battalion. And I just remember the first day going back to PT. It's always stood out to me, and it probably always will, because that's the moment I knew my life was going to be different, maybe even a little bit harder. So I went back to regular PT. And now in order for me to do this, since I was going back about 30 to 40 days after I had a child, I was still breastfeeding, pumping. If there's any guys on this call, I'm sorry. But I was still doing all of these things. I hadn't really fully recovered. And it was my first child. I hadn't figured out a routine or a battle rhythm, how to get out the door, which you'll soon realize is probably one of the biggest lessons you'll learn. So anyways, going to PT, I had to wake up at like 4 a.m. in the morning. I had to breastfeed my daughter, get her dressed. Then I had to load up the car, which consisted of diaper bag, pump bag, my gym bag, my work bag, my lunch. So it looked like I was moving, going to work every single day. So after I breastfed her, got everything loaded up in the car. I'm already exhausted, by the way. So I get everyone in the car, I get to work, or I get to the childcare, I drop her off, take the car seat in, everything. She's good to go. Then I get to the PT parking lot. And at this time, so much time had passed, I had to pump because we didn't want any accidents while we're running, because I've learned that lesson before. Anyway, so then I had to pump and then go out to formation. And I remember standing in formation. This is the first time I was back, and I just was exhausted. I'm like, PT hasn't even started and I'm exhausted. And that moment will always just stick with me, just standing there thinking I'm already exhausted and the day hasn't even begun. And then kind of looking around to my peers and realizing I'm different now. I'm different. And almost, I don't want to say resentful or jealous. I don't know the right word, but just looking at everybody differently, like, guys, you just rolled out of bed and you guys are, no. So that moment always stood out to me. And ever since then, it's always been that way. Always had to add in extra time, and I've always shown up very exhausted.
I feel like that's the theme of mom life, right? You're
Yeah.
tired before it begins, before your day begins. So
Yeah.
wow, that was a great illustration of what it's like to be. So you were active duty while you had your first child. So that's a lot. Kim, do you have a story that illustrates your experience?
I do. I mean, mine is a little different. I actually joined the military with a child. So for me, I came in, recruiters first, and they let you know is that you have to sign custody of your child over to a family member. So my oldest daughter, I ended up having to sign custody over to her grandmother, and in order for me to join the military. So I came in already with a child. I later got married, and my former husband also had a daughter. And so eventually we became a blended family. So I know that's something that, happens a lot in the military as well. Families come together and they blend. So we blended. I got pregnant, I don't know, maybe 2 years after we got married. And I chose to get out of the military as on a motherhood, parenthood, should I say, because I didn't want to have to do coming off of leave and raising. I'm already doing it with 2 kids, you know what I'm saying? And it was hard, just like, Kasie said, it's just, the day starts and you're already tired, So for me, I chose to get out, and eventually had my 4 kids, and I raised my children as a dependent. So, yeah.
Yeah, and then you and your, I think, former husband then were sort of like going back and forth serving or something. You said he was serving after you left, so then you were like,
yeah, he still stayed on active. He ended up retiring. So he ended up retiring, and for me, I did the reserves. So I was still military, but not a full-time,
right,
full-time basis. So, but I couldn't have done the dual military thing, especially with him, because he did a lot of traveling overseas. You know, I just couldn't imagine, you know, raising my kids and having to both of us doing it together. It wouldn't work. So I chose, yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll after we hear Cassie's story, we'll circle back on the international story because I think Kasie has something to add on that front. So Cassie, can you tell us a story that illustrates your experience as a veteran mom?
Yeah, so I am a little bit like in between. I came into the military with no kids, came out of the military with no kids. I didn't have kids until I was 4 years out, but still having this role of being like a veteran and a mom, as Kasie was saying, she always felt different. And I always feel that way when I am doing anything with my kids and being around other moms, especially. I don't have any specific stories. It's just the way that, and this just might be my own sort of internalization, but knowing that my life experience and sort of trajectory is very different from the other mothers that I see on a daily basis. Now I don't know their lives personally, but if being a student has taught me anything, like feeling so out of place and feeling because I had this 4-year sort of gap in between my education, it kind of makes me feel like I've had this gap in motherhood as well. And just, you know, feeling like there are different priorities maybe, and there's also and again, I'm not trying to you know, push anything onto someone else, but sometimes I'm a little worried about saying that I'm a veteran in front of other moms, just because I don't know if there's still a stigma attached to that, or if they're, you know, just if they're going to think about me differently, or like maybe they don't want their kids to play with my kids or something like that. It's never happened to me, but I don't think any of the moms that I see regularly know that I'm a veteran. It's just not something that I've ever really like said or told anybody in that circle. So yeah, like I don't have specifics, but they're just kind of ways in which that I feel sort of out of place with other moms.
That's interesting that you say a stigma around it. I would, you know, maybe I'm a little biased, you know, I do love veterans. I work at WSP after all, but can you talk a little bit more about what you mean about what is your fear that other moms are going to think about you as a mom that they wouldn't think about a non-veteran mom? Can you like talk about that?
Yeah, I think part of it is, so, and I don't know if they would think this about me, because I know there are a lot of assumptions made about everyone who's been in the military, but there are different assumptions with men and women. Most of the time, folks, civilians, I guess, will think that men served in combat and, you know, women didn't. Now that's changing, but it's slow. And so I don't know if I were to bring that side of me out and say, and that I am a veteran, or that if they find out that I'm a veteran, I just get worried that folks will have assumptions about my mental health, I guess, and just carry that same stigma that they have for men who've been in combat, and just the assumption of, yeah, mental health, I guess, and like maybe they don't feel like their kids are safe with me.
Because there's a stigma that veteran mental health is somehow more volatile or
Yes.
or less predictable, maybe.
Yes.
Is what you're trying to get at. Okay, that's interesting. So I'm gonna ask Kasie really quick to talk about her upcoming deployment that she and her family will go on, and then we'll go to the next question. But
sure, yeah. So my husband is still active duty. and we are moving to Korea with 3 children, which I'm really excited, but there are just so many moving pieces. I was married before, so my first husband lives in Florida, and my oldest daughter is with him, and he is also military. A lot of military, a lot of kids, a lot of moving pieces. So luckily we have a really good relationship. She's gonna come with me, but I always think about the kids. How is that going to make an impact on their lives? You know, she's going to be over there without her father and without seeing him as frequently as she does now. But we're really excited. We don't have orders yet, and we're supposed to be out of our house by the end of the month. I feel like that is everyone has that story about PCSing and not having the orders, not exactly knowing when you're supposed to be gone. So that you can get your names on the childcare wait list and get your kids enrolled in school. So I don't know how any of that is actually going to look. I just know we're moving to Korea, and I have to be out of this house at the end of the month. So if you follow my Instagram, I'm going to do like not a tutorial, but a follow along. This is what it's like to move with kids. It's probably going to be crazy.
Yeah, wow. I mean, it's nothing a mom can't handle for sure, because, you know, moms are, you know, superheroes at this point, right? With time management and the amount of, you know, tasks you can get done before your day actually starts. But yeah, so at the veteran mom is Casey's Instagram. If anybody is interested in following along, we'll send a link in the follow-up email as well. So Kim, I'm going to start with you this time, and I'm going to ask, how did being a mother affect your ability to fully engage in your service, education, and work experiences? You said already that when you became pregnant, you just decided it's too much. I have to only be in the reserves now. So you already kind of touched on that a little bit, but at that time you had 3 children in your family, which, you know, it's a lot of children. It's a lot of balancing and coordinating. So I'm wondering how that affected, you know, what your day-to-day looked like.
I mean, basically getting up earlier than I normally would, you know. I mean, when you only have yourself to, you know, take care of, you can kind of roll out maybe an hour before it's time to go to formation, you know what I'm saying, and do a quick wash up and be out the door. But when you have children, it's a whole nother, you know, thing. I mean, at the time, my infant, I didn't have a baby yet. You know what I'm saying? I just had the 2 older girls. And it's a lot, you know, trying to get 2 girls ready for school and everything, and then having to drive them to childcare, you know, so that they can, you know, get on that bus or whatever from there. Because it's super early, you know. I mean, having to be in formation at 6 a.m., you know, maybe sometimes earlier. It's a lot, you know, and then fighting with them, you know what I'm saying, to get up that early in the morning, you know. So it really changes, you know, pretty much how you live. You know, you also, when you get off, most people, because I came in, I was 23. So a lot of times you have a lot of younger soldiers, you know, coming in when you coming in. And, you know, most of them, when they get off of work, you know, they got their life. You know, I go home, I got to take care of family. So I didn't have as many, especially my first duty station. I really didn't have a lot of like close friends, you know, because of that. It was such a difference in age or difference in just the demographics of what our life looked like, you know. So yeah, so I think that was mainly the biggest, I would say, difference or challenge that I had to deal with while I was serving.
Did you find that after you switched, ended your service and switched to reserves, that you were able to kind of get that more traditional mom lifestyle, like where you were able to have like mom friends? Or
yeah. I mean, I ended up, most of my friends though at that point were not service members. So I didn't do a lot with the military. It ended up being more people, you know, like at my church or in, you know, stuff like that. So not really a lot of people in the military. Yeah.
Yeah, because community is so important when you're raising children, right?
Exactly.
You know, just having other people to rely on to reach out and support you.
Yeah. Exactly.
So Cassie, I'm going to ask you the same question and ask, you know, you were a mother after your service. So you were saying most of your experience as a veteran mom was dealing with like, what do other moms think of me and do they want their kids around me? Is there anything else that you would add about what your experience as a mother and a veteran was like? And you were a student at the time, right?
Yes. So when I was doing my master's degree, I had both my kids. And that was, so being a veteran already, I felt different. And then adding this element of being a mom, which Kim was kind of talking about, like, you know, after class, I can't like hang out with other students and like go to like study at Starbucks or something. I have to go home and make sure my kids are fed, or that, you know, pick them up from school or something like that. And so really, even with my other veteran friends on campus, it was still really difficult to just be, you know, like hang out and sort of be carefree, I guess, and only focus on school, because my family is going to be my number one priority. Of course, I want to do well in school, but you know, my family is going to come first. My kids are going to come first. And so trying to fulfill both of those roles at 100% was exhausting. And I mean, I couldn't do both of them at 100%. I needed to be a mom 100% and, you know, a student maybe like 70% or something like that. So it was just difficult in trying to feel like having a sort of, I guess I wasn't ever going to have a typical student experience because I just wasn't a typical student to begin with. But then adding another element of being a mother made it even more difficult to feel like, you know, having that sort of typical experience and being able to create close friendships and things like that was also difficult. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, both you and Kim have, you know, sort of touched on how there's not a lot of extra time, right? When you're juggling all these identities and responsibilities, different sets of responsibilities.
Mhm.
So yeah, well, at least you know, there was WSP in the summertime, right? To give you a little burst of joy.
Yes.
Okay, so Kasie, you talked a little bit about your first child and the experience of that. You were active duty, you were serving. You have 3 children. So can you talk about, were you serving when you had your other children, or were you just military spouse then? And how did that affect that situation and, you know, raising those children? Was it any different?
It's a lot different, which has made me look back and reflect on how I was as a mother while I was in, which has been really, really hard, honestly. And it comes with a lot of guilt. So with my first daughter, I was young. I was 24 years old when I had her, in a toxic marriage, in a very demanding environment, while at one point I was working on my master's degree, I was commanding, and I was a single mom. And so I look back now and I don't feel like I was as present as what my daughter needed, even though everything I was doing was for her. I carry a lot of guilt, and with everything, with having to divorce her dad, with everything, even though everything I've done has been for her and for the best outcome, best life for us, I carry a lot of guilt. And so I met my husband, my current husband, in the military. And then after about a year into our marriage, I made the same decision Kim did. Like, I'm out. I already know what it's like to do dual military. And I was in a healthy relationship and it felt great. And I knew I could trust him, and it was okay if I was not making money to support myself. In the past, it was, I need to support myself because I need to be independent, even though I'm married. So I felt really confident in my relationship with my husband. and I decided to get out. And at this time, I was pregnant with my son, Mace. He's 4 years old now. So 4 years ago, I decided to get out of the military, and I got out 1 week before my due date. So 3 days after having Mace, so I was in Virginia and my husband was in North Carolina. So I went into labor. He had to fly from JRTC to Fort Lee, Virginia. I had my son, then I was by myself. And 3 days after having my son, I then packed up the car with my daughter, my newborn son, and we drove down to Fort Bragg. And we all moved in together, and it was tough. So I have the experience now of what it's like to be a full-time mom, stay-at-home mom. It lasted about a year, and I went crazy, and I started working with Service to School because I have a busy mind. I need to work and I need to give back. And I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be now. And it's just so great. Still helping veterans. I'm in the veteran community. But yeah, what I know now and the experience I have with my son, and I also have a 2-year-old daughter now, how available I am to them. I was able to breastfeed them both for over a year. Just there for all the special moments. With my oldest daughter, Kylie, I deployed when she was a year old. I missed an entire year of her life. And so it's 2 totally different childhoods for my older child and my younger children. Totally different, and a totally different parent, because I've changed so much. So that was a lot. I hope I answered your question.
No, that was great. I'm actually wondering, Kim, do you feel like you had a similar experience because you had a child after leaving service as well, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, both of my younger sons were both born after I got off active duty. So I was in the reserves with both of them, but not on active duty. And you say it's similar as in what?
Like, do you feel like your older children kind of had a different experience with you,
Yeah,
you know, and their father as a parent?
My other 2 daughters tell it that I'm a totally different mom. So I'm totally, and I've changed a lot from raising the 2 girls and then raising all 4 of them together. And then just me being, you know, like, because all my children are adults now. So now I'm a different, you know, person even now, and our relationships are different, you know, because really, to be honest with you, I think I did such a poor job. I ain't gonna say a poor job, but it was somewhat bad because at the time I was married to my ex-husband. Our marriage wasn't good, you know, like she said, it was toxic, you know, so all of that goes into, you can't really be in a relationship and it not trickle down to how you are with your children. You know what I'm saying? So I had a lot of repairing that I had to do once I got divorced and everything. So yeah, totally different mom now.
Well, we've seen Kobe, and you know, we're quite proud of the work you've done with him. So the next question I'm going to ask is, and I'm going to start with Cassie on this one. So Cassie, are there any resources that would have helped you be more successful as you juggled your identities as a mother and a student and a veteran?
Are there any resources that would have helped? Absolutely. Do they exist? I don't know. The one thing that my school had, or still has, and it's the only resource that I really know of for parents, is a child care subsidy. So you just apply for special grant money. You have to do all of these jumping through hoops to get it, which is fine. Helping to pay for, it didn't pay for everything, but it paid for a lot of it. So helping pay for childcare while I could go to school, because my ex-husband at the time when I was married, he worked. And so there wasn't, you know, no one could stay home and watch them all the time. So it did help. What would have helped more though, is if there was more support from the school and just helping folks like me with, you know, moms and dads that have kids, help them in finding childcare, or making it an option to bring your kids to school and have there be a daycare set up there that's free, that you don't have to pay for. I don't know of any other supports in place that, other than that subsidy that my school offers. They do offer graduate housing for folks that are married and have kids. But I've seen those graduate apartments and they're not great. They're not very big. There's like 1 bathroom and like 2 bedrooms, which isn't enough for a family of 4. And I know that I'm not the typical demographic that the school is catering to. I get that. However, even if there's just 1 person at your school that is doing all of these things, you should still have some type of support in place to help them, instead of just saying like, well, you're not our typical student, so good luck. Here's $1,000 to help for childcare, and then good luck doing both, being a mom, a parent, and a student.
Yeah, good luck with the rest of it. We'll
Yes.
give you like one tiny thing. Good luck with the rest of it. Hope it works out.
Right.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. I can't remember which conversation this was, but in a previous conversation, and Camilla, this may have been you. So if it was you who shared this, feel free to speak up. But in certain universities, I believe some of the the assistance for students who have families goes through like HR for like this. Yeah, is that?
It's interesting. I was when I was working at my last university, I was breastfeeding, and there are very few places on campus that are like just comfortable places to breastfeed or to pump. And the way that you get access to them was through HR, not through like student support services. So like the assumption there is that students are not needing this service, just faculty and staff are.
Right.
And so, but it's actually kind of interesting because a lot of faculty and staff, like I had my own office that I could close the door and pump in. But if I was across campus, I needed access to the pumping room across campus, and I would have to get that through HR, not through like student support services. So yeah, that assumption is like the only people who need this are faculty and staff, not students. And in all reality, like I had more resources at my disposal as a faculty member than students would, because I had colleagues who had offices on the other side of campus who I could ask to use their office or those kinds of things. But I mean, I think every breastfeeding mom has had an experience with having to pump or breastfeed or something in a bathroom. Like I think everybody who has done
Humvee.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, yeah, everybody has had that experience. And so, yeah, I absolutely, universities as a whole need to do better with that. But like as a society, we as a whole need to do better of supporting breastfeeding moms and moms in general, just to be able to feed our kids. I mean, it seems pretty basic.
A little bit of an essential service there. Thank you, Camilla. Okay, so Kasie, do you have any resources that would have helped you?
Same thing as Cassie. I did not know about any resources back then, and I hate saying that because I don't want to say anything negative about the military, but I was not aware of any resources. And I also didn't know that I needed resources. I just thought I was overwhelmed. I thought I was not doing it right. I was not being a good mother. It's so hard on myself. I didn't know I needed resources. Now, there are so many resources out there. Maybe not specifically mother or women veterans, but there are resources that would benefit us still. So like Veterans Yoga Project, it's a nonprofit. They give you free yoga for veterans, caregivers, family members, and yoga has definitely changed everything for me. It's definitely helped me heal, accept who I was as a mother then, embrace who I'm as I'm a mother now. So it's definitely helped me. I would say that was a good resource, but also maybe not successful juggling my identity, but maybe understanding my identity was other moms' pages on Instagram, or like the holistic psychologist accounts like that on Instagram, and had just helped me understand that my emotions were valid. And moms are overwhelmed. We do have a lot on our plate. We're not bad moms. And just having that validation, it just really made a huge difference, just knowing I wasn't alone and that my feelings were valid. And that was enough to keep me going and keep me going now. So those are resources I use now, maybe not necessarily back then, but I wish I would have known back then that I was not crazy.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, and that's, obviously I've seen the fruits of your Veterans Yoga Project skills, because you're like a yoga pro now. So
they're a great organization. I love Warrior Scholar Project, Service to School, Veterans Yoga Project. There are so many great nonprofits for veterans. You just have to Google whatever you're into. If you're into painting, Google Veterans Painting Club or something, and then you'll be surprised.
Yeah, well, I know, Kim, you're gonna potentially talk to us about meditation, maybe, because you are like the master of meditation. But were there any resources that you wish you would have had that could have helped you be more successful juggling all that you had going on?
Well, I mean, I guess if there were out there before I decided to get out of the military, I wish that I could have, known about it, and maybe I would have stayed in. I did utilize the youth and teen program when my children were growing up, and a lot of the athletic, programs and things like that. I think that those services were wonderful, and really helped me raise my kids. You know what I'm saying? So especially the youth and teen program. I mean, I can't say anything bad about that program. And it was absolutely amazing. My daughters, especially my older daughter, she got involved in a lot of leadership opportunity programs and things of that nature, which have served her well today, that she still utilizes the information that she learned. And the same with my second. I mean, I would say that a lot of their success came from the programs that I used while we were on base. It just really helped us a lot, keeping them active and everything, and learning those different skills that they got.
Awesome. Okay, now I'm gonna ask you the question that I think you might talk a little bit about meditation. So strategies, Kim, what strategies do you find helpful balancing wellness with being a mother, now a student at Columbia, and also a veteran? Maybe now it's the meditation.
Totally meditation.
So
I don't have to juggle the mom anymore, but I tell you, being in school at 48 years old is not easy. And meditation has helped. I mean, I'm trained in transcendental meditation, and since doing that, and since I started it, I've been able to meditate every day, twice a day, 20 minutes a day, and before that I would try meditating and some of the different other techniques, and I just couldn't do it. And but this has helped me, really to just kind of keep my mental state, not, because I tend to get very anxious and things like that. It has helped a lot with school. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Did you use David Lynch?
I did.
Okay. We can post a link to that.
When she came through, that's how we actually met, at a transcendental meditation event.
Oh, yes. And that's, we wouldn't have realized we were birthday twins without that. So that's fantastic. Shout out to Delia. We love you, Delia. Okay, so Cassie, do you have any strategies that you use to balance your wellness with being a mom and now a working professional? You just finished your stint as a student, but
Yeah, I mean, I go on a lot of walks, but one thing that I think that took a while for me to like come to terms with, I guess, so the past maybe like year, the past last 2 semesters of my degree, where I'm in Zoom school, my kids are in Zoom school. And so I was not only a student, but now I'm also a teacher because there's so much. I don't know if anybody had young kids during this pandemic and they were doing Zoom school, but a lot of the instruction fell back onto the parents, at least where I live. So it was becoming really, really overwhelming. And I was feeling stressed out, and which didn't translate well into being a mom. And so at some point I resolved that, like, we're not like, if I don't get all A's this semester, that's okay. If my kids don't get every single piece of their homework done, that's okay. Like, instead of trying to be the perfect mom, the perfect teacher, have the perfect kids, and do all of these things that I guess, like, from society's standpoint, you know, how kind of like looking in, it was more of like, that's okay, because I want to be a mom and be present with my kids and not have to worry about finishing the 500 things that are in my son's queue for homework. Like, that's okay. If it doesn't get done, it's okay. No one's going to die. This isn't a life or death thing. But then I can have some time to read them a book or play a game instead of feeling stressed out and like just so manic and trying to get everything done. I really just resolved to be like, okay, this is the year that we're all just gonna do the best that we can. And if that means not doing homework after 3 p.m., then that's what that means. And it's going to be fine. And that really, really helped with my just overall wellness, because letting go of all of that stress and pressure made it a lot easier to just be present and be a mom and do fun things with my kids instead of making them sit down and do homework.
Yes, that's a very good point. Like, setting a boundary for yourself so that there is some sort of like, so you can maintain some sort of control over essentially, you know, the craziest, most unpredictable situation, which is a pandemic where everyone is home together.
Yes.
All right, so last question, last answer, Casey. How do you balance wellness with your identities?
Well, I agree with everything they just said, to a T. Basically, through yoga and meditation, I learned more strategies to help me. And the biggest one, yeah, Cassie said, let go, just let it go. Stop having these high expectations that nobody else other than ourselves expect us to meet. And I think back when I was in the military, I always cared what the perception was. So, and my work hours with military revolved around the childcare hours. So I was showing up right as soon as the daycare is open. That's when I'm showing up to work. I have to leave at 6 p.m. because I have to pick up my child. And I used to always wonder, like, oh man, they probably think I'm lazy because I'm leaving early, but my kid's been in daycare for like 12 hours, you know, realistically, and I've been busting my butt all day long. And so I used to always care so much. And it always weighed so heavy on me. I'm like, everyone's thinking I'm just this horrible soldier because I'm showing up right on time. I have to leave at a certain time. I can't stay late. I can't do all these things. And I would over explain myself. So I'd say the biggest strategy that I'm getting better at now in my life is just not over explaining. I know I'm a good mom. Yeah. I'm a hard worker. And I'm actually in school right now too. And I'm a good student. So I don't need to explain that to anyone. Right. Like, if you know me well enough, you know that. And if I'm not at a meeting or something, it's because there is a legitimate reason. And I don't need to over explain it. Well, my daughter, she did this, and that was me over explaining. And it just makes you look worse. And it's not good for your mental health. Like, just accept the fact that you're a good mom, you're a good student. you're good in the military and you're doing the best you can. And that's all you can do.
Fantastic. I feel like that's just a women in general problem, over explaining whenever we can't like make it somewhere. I know I do that, you know, as a non-veteran mom. So I feel like a lot of us can identify with that. So we have a couple questions from the audience that I want to ask. So Fatima has two questions that are related. So she asks, have any of the jobs the ladies on the panel have worked after the military offered childcare in the building that they worked? And did any of the ladies get a childcare list of places before they moved to a new place besides the CDC, with, like, as an example, with their sponsorship package? Go ahead, Kasie.
There's childcare in the building I work in, right here. I'm the childcare. No, I'm just joking. No, I have never, well, I work fully remote. So when the pandemic first started, the kids would play here, and my neighbor who lost her job, I hired her as a nanny and she came over. So there was childcare where I was working, and it was crazy. The meetings, the kids are like, oh, it was wild. And I've never received a sponsorship packet. I don't know, never received that. But I did use Childcare Aware, that a subsidy program. I don't know if that's the one you were talking about earlier, Cassie, but I'm not near a military base right now. So there's no on-post childcare. So I used a service called Childcare Aware, and it's a subsidy program. So if you're not close to a military base, you can apply for this, and they literally cut my childcare fees in half. More than half, because it was $500 for two of my kids, and it went down to $200. So if you are, and they will do it if you're near a military base too. So Childcare Aware is great. They take off a lot of money.
Yeah, we'll include that resource in the follow-up email. Kim, did you have any experience with sponsorship packages or childcare resources when you were in the military as a mom?
No, I didn't. And I literally raised my children at home, so I didn't necessarily need childcare, you know. Okay.
Okay, so the next question is, so this is an anonymous question. And the question is, what advice can you share dealing with a non-military ex-husband who is counter-parenting instead of co-parenting? We are on a 10-year custody battle where he won't stop alienating the child from me and claims that I'm the violent one since I'm the veteran. So Cassie, this kind of plays into, you know, some of your concerns about being the veteran mom and with other, you know, moms. So I'm wondering if any of you have any thoughts on this question.
Can you repeat the question again?
Yes. What advice can you share dealing with a non-military ex-husband who is counter-parenting instead of co-parenting? They're in a 10-year custody battle, and he won't stop alienating their child from her and claims that she's the violent one because she's the veteran.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, I don't have any advice. I mean, that sounds like a legal issue. Yeah. Yeah.
I would say, so I'm kind of, well, I sort of have the same situation. My ex-husband is military, however, so it's a little bit different. But there were a lot of instances where he would just say a lot of really terrible negative things about me, just because I'm not really sure why. But I would say that if there is anything sort of going on or any interaction that you have with your ex-husband, take notes of everything. When the date that it happens, just write like a summary of the interaction. And chances are he's probably not doing that. So the more evidence that you have to take with you, now this is not like legal evidence or anything like that, but from my experience kind of dealing with the same thing, the more evidence that you have, the better. And as far as counter-parenting, one thing that my ex-husband and I have decided on was just to go to therapy every month together, even though we're not married anymore and we're not ever going to get married again. That just for the sake of our kids, so that we're on the same page, and that, you know, trying really hard to keep the lines of communication as open as possible.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, we also had a comment from Angela on the question too, saying, you know, getting the children into counseling as well as, you know, the parents. And again, like Cassie said, keeping track of the communications and ensuring that they're all written communications that can be saved. And yeah, self-care, you know, self-care sounds really important in that situation as well. So I'm gonna unmute all of the attendees so that Angela, do you wanna say something now? I'll allow you to talk. And then Lisa, after Angela's done, you can also talk.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. I wasn't expecting to talk. I was happy texting. I just want to say that I truly value all the experiences that were shared. Kim, my heart goes out to you because I had a few Marines that joined and they had children before they joined. And the thought of me separating from my children never sat well. Casey and Kasie, thank you both for your service. Did 17 years in the Marine Corps. And now I'm on my way to I'm a therapist for veterans. And I'm focusing myself on female community because I need it. I have a nice coalition of ladies from Hudson Valley, New York, and they're my support. They're veterans, and we try to make an attempt to meet monthly, even if it's on Zoom, and now that things are opening, hopefully we can see each other. But all your stories really very relatable. I mean, showing up to PT with swollen, inflamed, full of milk, you know, just not the fun day to do. And I felt the pain for the younger Marines that were going through that. You know, I was older when I was second child. But yeah, I mean, dealing with the excess and drama, and it's tough. It's not easy. You know, I feel that we learn more about each other after we leave, and we try to correct those things. And that's part of self-care. And I think that's more important. I really beat myself up a lot because I felt that. I felt that I was failing as a mom, and I would go back to how I used to respond to my kids. It was a goal for me for them to go to bed at 8 o'clock, because that way I had time to pack stuff for the next day and work out one more time because I needed to be in shape. You know, working out 3 times was not enough for the Marine Corps. I had to do what I had to do to make sure that I stay on top of everything I was doing. And living that kind of life, it was very, I'm paying for it. But at least I have time to do more self-care, fight with my doctor for the VA, and, you know, blame all my anger on PTSD, but because they do what they feel is best for me. But I'm a completely different person. I mean, even my Marines, when they see me posting stuff, they're constantly, oh, you're so happy, you're smiling, or you're laughing, or you look like you're enjoying your time. I felt like I was doing it when I was in, but, you know, I guess my face looks different, the way I laugh, it's the same, but I was truly in the moment when I do share something on social media. So thank you for sharing that. Please keep doing it, because a lot of these younger generations need to hear it. They need to understand that they're not alone, that this is happening and continuing to happen.
Yes.
And I can tell you of horrible stories about female nursing, or females pumping and not having privacy, or having to put John.
And we're hoping to progress away from situations like that.
Absolutely. I think education is key. You know, we need to really pay attention. And that's what we lack of. We lack a lot of it. But thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Angela. Lisa, did you have something you wanted to say?
Well, I wanted to first of all thank you for these opportunities to come together. first and foremost as women and as mothers, and of course being sisters in the service. I think we're all familiar with the need to stay calm, especially when communicating in contentious situations, no matter what the environment is, because there's, I don't know if it's culture or misogyny or I don't know what, but every day I'm a very impassioned person. And if I don't do my self-check, if I come across with passion, and I'm not talking about vulgarity or being out of line, I just mean impassioned, I get misunderstood. And I think it's a male-female thing. I hate to stereotype that way. So I just wanted to share that whenever we feel alone, we're not alone. We've got each other, even in these cyber, spiritual, ethereal kinds of connections like this opportunity. So again, thank you very, very much. I threw in the text message that, and a few of us here were mentioning that there are opportunities. Just Google veteran art, veteran guitar, veteran whatever. And there's so many organizations or efforts that are actually blooming all over the place, including an advocacy and acceptance of female veterans. And thanks to organizations like SWAN and like our new, what's his name? Our new chief guy up in DC, who's taken it seriously about military sexual trauma. I think there's a lot of opportunities there. I think I hate to say it to fellow sisters, but I think we just need to stay calm. Otherwise, there's a propensity, God damn it, for being misunderstood or mistaken. You know what I mean? Because I just heard it yesterday at the gym. I heard you tell him. I did not tell him off. You know what I mean? I said, it's my turn. That's what I said. You know what I mean? So thank you again for providing these opportunities. Let's always check out other opportunities where we can link arms with other sister veterans. And even if it's a look in the eye, like, I got you, girl, just stay calm.
Yes.
You know? So thank you very much.
Yes.
I also want to add one more thing, if I may. Sure. I just got published my first academic I'm a PhD student. I'm researching female veterans in transition. And so I'm signing up for all these, webinars and stuff, because I want to definitely contribute to the improvement of the treatment of women veterans in, I don't know which realm exactly, but again, thank you for this opportunity. And let's just all stay connected on LinkedIn or whatever places we can.
Yes, and we actually, Lisa, I'm not sure if you know, but we actually have a Facebook group for the WVEDS community. So we can send that link out in the email also. We're actually piloting our first two all-female cohorts this summer for Warrior Scholar Project in our boot camps, and we're pretty proud of this. So there might be some opportunities for you to use that for your research if you're interested.
Fantastic. That's great. So thank you again.
Yes, thank you, Lisa. And thank you to our panelists, Casey, Cassie, and Kim. We're so excited that you were able to join us today and share your experiences, being veterans and mothers and students and working professionals. And, we hope that you'll be part of our community for years to come. Kim, you're stuck with us because you're an alum, so you're stuck with us. We'll keep you real close. We'll be sending out some information to everybody who registered with the resources that the panelists mentioned when they were talking today. So if you're interested in any of those, we'll send out those links. Thank you again for coming, and we'll see you at our next WVED, which won't be until September. So we'll be taking a break over the summer, and we'll see you all again in the fall. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Whitney.
Thank you.
Nice meeting everyone.
Okay.